The ones who actually do it, activate it. Not who think about it, feel it, they just do it.
Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M. Clark, 3-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles. All from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
The ones who actually do it, activate it. Not who think about it, feel it, they just do it.
Well, and I think in the disc, right, you see a lot of D's, dominance, and
I'm the highest D on disc you could, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and what we like to say about D's in that category, right? They got doctorates and get shit done, and of course, I like to tell people like be brief, be accurate, and be gone, and you're going to be fine with them. Like this is how you work with, a guy like Justin. You want to be well with Justin? Be brief.
I just want the answer.
And be gone.
Right. So it's fascinating because my wife is the opposite. So she's a pediatrician. So she's very high in. Yeah. People like us marry people like my wife.
She's a high S. She's an S, and she's way out.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. The S for me is something else, and just for her, BS for me. But it's funny because the one test that I think is the most important is Kolbe, Kolbe. It's the A
sure. Kolbe, sure.
What's your score?
I don't have. I'm familiar with Kolbe, but I've never taken any test.
Okay, so I'll be brief with this as possible. So the only thing I write down before I meet someone is their name and Kolbe score for 2 reasons. One, when somebody knows or has taken it, it's a higher level of conversation 100% of the time. 100%, not 99, because it's not your personality, it's how your brain works. And because I don't care what your personality is, I want to know how your brain works. And then 2, it's the Bible Strategic Coach, top entrepreneurial group in the world. And in that, it's your name, the industry you're in, not the name of your company, because nobody cares. It's the industry you're in, and then your Kolbe score. So I immediately know who I'm talking to, whether it's someone who's going to ask me 3 million questions and never do anything, or if it's someone who's just going to, okay, let's go. Then with Kolbe, I matched my score with my wife's. And the funniest part of it was like, we're not asking you to change your personality, but can you let your wife finish what she's saying before you walk out of the room? Because I already have the answer, but she wants to keep talking because she has higher follow through than I do. She needs to get it out. And I know the answer. Brief, like you said, just get it done.
How's that working for the dinner time? Is that rough?
No, because I know her Kolbe score and I know how her brain thinks. Yeah. So I can adjust my brain for how I'm endlessly fascinated by my wife because endlessly like one, I love my wife more than anything, but like, I'm just fascinated because she's empathy, warmth, love, kindness. Again, she taught me how to say thank you. She's like rules, order, all that, whatever the hell that stuff is. And she loves it. I'm just endlessly And then our sons are 9 and 7. And then they have her, her love and nicety. And then they have my, like, just go for it, like sheer competition, like and it's just a really interesting mix. It's a fascinating mix of brains.
Love it. Hey, if you had, like, let's talk about people that you've seen some hard times, right? If you had, what's the one value, belief, or action that you think that you took when you were down that turned things for you that you'd recommend for somebody else? Game changer. Well,
so that's a really good question. And I'll give you some background so people understand. So at the end of 2018, and I was a journalist, remember, for 20 years. So you never go into journalism for money. You go into it for a purpose. So end of 2018, almost 2 years into being an entrepreneur, I'd made more money in a year than I ever thought possible. And I'd never been more miserable in my life. I'm like, well, okay, that makes no sense. More money, wow, that actually happened. Wow is meaningless to me unless it happens. It's totally meaningless. So, okay, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. So figure it out, do something about it. So leaned on my wife heavily because she's high in empathy, love, warmth. Okay. Started seeing a therapist because I'm like, okay, this is likely and or possible traumatic experience as a child. Okay, entrepreneur life. And then I reached out to one of my mentors. I'm like, hey, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. And he said one of the most important things ever, and this answers your question. All of it answers your question, but this really answers it. He's like, oh, every entrepreneur I know has gone through something like you have. Every single one of them. And the key is what you learn from it, knowing it's going to happen again, but learn from it. So I understand now how the business cycle works in this side of things. It's 4.5 years in now. I understand it. And when I feel that way again, I learn from it and I'm like, oh, okay. It's just part of being an entrepreneur. I just had enough time of being an entrepreneur yet to understand how this works. And so now I do. Now I understand.
Do you see lessons in everything?
Yes. My brain turns everything into a lesson and pattern. That's correct. That's literally how my brain works.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, let's talk about some questions for you. All right. You've had a lot of success, a lot of wins. What's the biggest battle you've overcome?
I didn't think you were going there with that question. That's interesting. The biggest battle is before COVID, I saw my children more than any dad I'd ever met, and now I see them even more. And I will never let entrepreneur life destroy my family life. Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that let their entrepreneur life destroy their family life. I will never be that person. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs who put family before entrepreneur life get punished. And then they turn that into a battle. Other entrepreneurs punish them for doing that. I've seen it. And there's a lot of folks who care about revenue, employee count, office space. To me, that's all BS. It's just winning the wrong game. But a lot of entrepreneurs care about that, and they punish people like me that don't care about that stuff. And so the biggest battle is realizing that all this other crap is just winning the wrong game. And that I only have 2 10Xs in my life. 2, because I'm a simplifier, turn to a pattern. So 1, 10X is experience in life with my family. If you have a good family life, you have a good life, period. I've never met an exception to that. And then 2 is network on a global level. When you increase your network on a global level, 10X, not 100X, 1000X, you create endless opportunities for your network and yourself. So the byproduct of that is I haven't done outbound sales or gimmicks or junk or any of that nonsense in years. I just create value for the highest performing people on the planet, and then they create value for me. And it'll just keeps growing. So there's no limits to it. No limits.
Have you seen Moneyball?
Yeah. So one, I love how you ask questions because I never watched the game. I'm just behind the scenes. He goes out and watches the game for 2 seconds. They start to blow and he gets the hell out of there again. And he works out during the game. And that's me. That's completely me. I am that 100% that character in real life.
Well, the guy that plays Jonah Hill in the movie is a friend of mine, right? And he came up with us with Cleveland, Harvard grad.
Yeah, right.
And he changed the KPIs, right? Like you're saying, every entrepreneur says, whatever their KPI, office space, top line revenue, how many employees they have, this is my measure of success. And you're saying, my 10X is my family, and you don't like it, I don't give a rat. Is that fair?
I don't care, 100%. And so that character, the Jonah Hill character, when Brad Pitt looks at him, because when they were first in the Cleveland office, and then he looks at him and he was like, why did the general manager Shapiro look at him? And he shook his head or whatever. And so why'd he look at him? Then he figured it out. So like, I'm like that backstage guy that partners with the visionaries and simplifies their message and shares it with the world. And then I nod my head or shake my head if it's not the right fit, but I nod it if it is the right fit. So
you're the guy.
That's me.
I love it. Billy Bean goes and finds him and says, why are they listening to you? Right.
Right. So I'm the guy in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like Billy Bean too, because I did this massive assessment and it's several $1,000s, which is fine, whatever. Good investment. Most people don't spend several $1,000s on like an assessment, but I did because I like to learn how my brain works. And so the 2 companies, it projected like what you should be running or whatever. So the 2 companies or the things that I should be doing is I should be the CEO of an under $1 billion company or an under $500 million company. And I don't care about that stuff at all, but that's like what I should be floating around up there. And the new company, I think that's what it'll be in some capacity. So I'm just like that guy just floating around. I'm just floating around behind the scenes. And then people are like, how the hell did this happen? Well, because it's just a guy, holding up the puppet strings and stuff. That's literally what it is. And so it's like a combination of your friend and Billy Bean. That's kind of what it is. So good movie analogy.
Oh yeah, well, it's a great movie, and I love the part. One of my favorite parts is when he calls the guy, and he's like, when he's gonna offer him the job, right? And he says, "What round would you have drafted me?" And the guy tries to skirt it, right? He tries to go, I haven't looked at it, and he goes, "What round?" Because he knows, like, your brain only works. You got to know the information, and he instantly goes, "Yeah, I had you in the 7th round, right?" This was the can't miss kid, Billy Bean, number 1 overall, best athlete ever come in the draft, yada yada yada, and he's like, "Yeah, I got you 7th." And he goes, "Yeah, you're hired." Right? Like he wants some truth in his life. I love it.
Directness weeds out nonsense and it attracts greatness. The people at the highest level love my directness. That's what I mean. They love that confidence. They love someone calls BS on them. And so there's two one is that baseball one, and then the other one is love of the game, which actually I think is a terrible movie, but there's one good part in it where Kevin Costner says, clear the mechanism, and everything goes blank. My whole life is clear the mechanism.
Yep.
Total focus on my family and network. My whole life is clear the mechanism.
Yeah. It's so funny that people talk to me about that all the time. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't do that? Because like I've been playing since I was 12, right? So you start going out on these stages and you start doing it like, and my wife comes to me like now when I coach football and she's like, well, didn't you see what happened in the stands? And I'm like, I didn't know there's people in the stands. Like I got a job to do.
For a living? Is she a teacher or a nurse or social?
The exact opposite of me. She's
right, of course.
Yeah, she is a teacher. She teaches. She has her own private little business. She tutors Latin, but she's our teacher. We homeschool our children, and she teaches our
That's
children.
What I mean. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, there are exceptions to that rule. There are other visionary wackadoos like us that marry visionary wackadoos. But for the most part, it's visionary wackadoos like us that marry stabilizing humans. I mean, that's literally what.
Let's talk about this because like you talked about abundance and visionary, but you said like it's visionary isn't, you said, one of your highest qualities. Is that right or no?
No, it is. No. I'm a visionary whack. Oh, I am. No, ideation is very low. Very low in ideation, but if I have a good idea, it gets executed at that. So like,
okay, I got it. Okay, yeah, the good segregation. I appreciate you segregating those two because that's where I was confused when you say ideation, but being able to actually once you see the idea, I get it. Boom, creating that vision. Boom.
Yeah, and so like again, ideas without execution are totally meaningless to me. It's completely meaningless. Yeah. So launched the second company with a business partner I had never met. He's in Strategic Coach 10X with me. He's in San Francisco. I had never met him in person until the big launch party that I threw at Chicago Yacht Club a couple of weeks ago, where we had entrepreneurs from around the world come to a launch party in the middle of COVID.
Bummed I missed that.
Right, yeah. If you had reached out to me, a month and a half ago, I would have invited you. But Lee was there. Lee Eisenstadt was there. But that's what I mean. Most people would never even think about doing that, let alone doing it. You just do it and act to get organized, because once you take action, everything else takes care of itself. You don't organize and spend your whole life thinking about something. You just do it, and then everything else follows.
Well, I think that's for people who are listening, like that is the big thing about everyone always scared, like as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, like, oh, I don't want to share my ideas with anybody. Listen,
that's bullshit.
99% will not like activate your idea. 99% actually
no, 100%. Again, so like, and I apologize for swearing, but I'm high D. But my company's, for my PR firm, company's entire process is on the website. It's literally right there. There's no tricks at all. And go ahead. But most people, people don't have my mindset and they don't have my network. So it doesn't matter. It's meaningless. Here you go. Go ahead. It's fine. And again, like at the highest level, there is no competition, only collaboration. So people are like, you're in the PR space, very competitive field. Like, no competition. I haven't done outbound anything in years. People thought you reached out to me. I mean, that's what I mean. Like people just reach out to me and they're like, oh, let's go. Let's make the investment. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is I've lived this, how media works from a firsthand perspective because of my book, which thank you for bringing it up. And so it's great for me and my brand. But then hosts are like, wait, you partner with people like that? I go, yeah, I only partner people. And so then they want to interview my clients too. So it's great for them too. So everybody wins. Yeah. Everyone wins. And it just keeps growing. And there's no limits to it. None.
You see a lot of, you see these literally 0.1 percenters, right? Everybody looks in the mirror and you know that everybody has potential, right? Everybody has an ability to do some things because people have done it before, right? What do most people, when they look in the mirror, they don't see that you see in them?
And that's a really hard question to answer because most people are not capable of doing something like this. Okay. They're just not. I mean, if everyone could do this, and the world needs more integrators, the bottom line is the world needs more 99.9 percenters than 0.1 percenters, because nothing would actually get done if the world was all 0.1. It just, nothing would get done. Now, what I will say to dovetail that is there's two reasons why most people are miserable in their lives. There's two reasons, because I simplify and see as how my brain works. So one, they're doing something 8 to 10 hours a day, every single day, that they don't like to do and what they're good at. So if you're doing something 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, that you don't like to do and you're not good at, you're going to be miserable. Okay. I don't care how happy you are with everything else, you're going to be miserable. So that's one. Two, you actually find out what you're good at and what you like to do, and you never do anything about it. You just make an excuse. You don't do anything about it. And to me, that's unacceptable. So I think to answer your question, when people look in the mirror, with that second part and they don't do anything about it, that's what I just can't find, why people would make excuses to not do something as opposed to executing and actually doing it. And excuse and execute are very similar words, but they're totally different.
Well, I think there's two pains, right? The pain of discipline, the pain of regret. When you find out what you're good at and you don't do it, you live in regret, because until
100%.
you're going to have pain. If you want to do what you want to do and you're good at it, it's not going to be easy necessarily, but there's that pain of discipline, like go get it, go after it. But
correct.
If you don't do it, then you got the pain of regret. Either way, there is pain. You just got to choose which one you want.
Yeah. And, I just finished Man's Search for Meaning, which I read a lot of.
Frankel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. Right. So people like you are like, oh, yeah, great. So do I actually have it? Oh, I do have it. Good. I'm glad I have it in front of me. So, and my dog chewed up the cover. So here's the most important. I simplify everything. So I simplified this book. The most important part, and this, again, is the best book I've ever read. The prisoner who had lost faith in the future, his future was doomed. With his loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and became subject to mental and physical decay. So whether you're a prisoner in a Holocaust and you have no future, you're going to die. And if you're a human in entrepreneurial regular world and you've no future, then you have no purpose and you can't find purpose or meaning in your life. Okay, so that's one. And then two, to be sure, man's search for meaning may arouse inner tension rather than inner equilibrium. However, precisely such tension is an indispensable prerequisite of mental health. So this fear, this pushing through things, that's actually, you have to have that to find meaning in your life. You have to have that fear. So whenever I'm like afraid or like feel fear, I'm like, oh, I have to have it. So I actually just flip it. Now, again, I just read the book, good idea, activate, maximize, achieve, but that's it. That's actually it's essential to have that feeling. Essential, not good to have it, essential.
It's so important, Justin, that people get this, right? I love like Shawshank Redemption, one of the best movies of all time,
100%.
right? And when he gets in there, that line, like, hey, listen, hope, right? Hope is about the future. What's ahead of you? I have a hope for the future. And he says, hey, hope's dangerous in here. And he's like, it's the only thing we got. Hey, get busy living or get busy dying, right? Because that's what just happens right there. If you cut off the hope for the future, you are going to get busy dying.
100%. Retirement is death to me. So I'll never retire. I mean, I don't even understand the word. I don't even understand it. And we were talking, again, my sons are 9 and 7. And my wife and I were talking to them. And she's like, yeah, Daddy's never going to retire. He likes what he does so much. Why would he do that? I'm like, well, there's no need to retire. This isn't work for me. I work 0 hours every week. This is easy. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is really fun and really easy and very lucrative and endlessly interesting.
I love that. I tell you, I love the inner tension too. I like the inner tension from
and the inner tension.
We're all talking about like, oh, everyone's going to have peace and you're not going to have any anxiety and COVID change. Listen, inner tension is not a terrible thing.
It's not, again, it's essential. You have to have it. That's what I mean. So, and that's how I learn is I like to be the dumbest person in the room, whether it's a book I'm reading or literally, that's why I make these big investments in these high level groups, because I like to be the dumbest person in the room with entrepreneurs who've been entrepreneurs much longer than me. And then I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I'll do that. That's a good idea. And then I'll do it. I won't think about it. I'll just do it. Good idea. Let's go.
Well, I think it's the difference. It's the difference of all these books, right? We have fabulous books out there. We have fabulous learnings. You've written one. I just read a good one, The Road Less Stupid, right?
I have that upstairs.
It's a great book. Like Cunningham is good. And I mean, but his stuff, like you have to do it. You can sit there and go, oh, it's a great theory. Well, there's no doubt it's theory, but like until you actually put it into practice, it's nothing.
No. Ideas without execution are meaningless.
There you go.
Pointless.
Best way to win.
Talk without execution is meaningless. Right. That's it.
What's the best way to win? Winners find a way. What is the best way to win, Justin?
Yeah. So again, it's a great question. The first line of my book after the foreword, the first line, you don't put your family first, put the book down. I can't help you. So that's it. All this other crap is meaningless without it's meaningless. So that's the best way to win. That's it. That's the ultimate simplification if you don't have a good family life, all this stuff is totally meaningless to me.
I think it's a message that's timely right now in our society. You and I have been close to these top level performers. I know many men who have achieved great results, many famous people that everybody loves on TV for their abilities. And I'm like, they got 3 kids that don't talk to them. Their life sucks. Like
they're miserable human beings.
Miserable.
They're right. And go ahead.
Let me finish. I'm going to finish with, do you have a go-to quote, like something that really levels you? You've given me a bunch of them, right? Like cream rise.
My whole life.
Before I go to this, well, I'm giving you a minute to think about it. All right.
I already
want you to
know
think
it.
about I know, but I want to review what we've heard today, because everyone on the Leadershipity channel, I want them to get high value from the Winners Find a Way show. Today, I've got tons of it. Abundance and visionary mindset. Your ability, Colby scored, how much imagine, how a brain works. Having one person care about them is a separator in life. I mean, if you don't have that, challenge. The 4 challenges that high performers have, like who've gone through bankruptcy, depression, anxiety, and trauma. It's almost like a prerequisite for the elite. Your father's quote, like the cream rises to the top. You are a lesson guy. You learn from everything. You are a sponge, and I love that about you. Your 3 keys: activate, maximize, and achieve. You know exactly where you stand. You know exactly what you're looking for. People need to understand, like, hey, what are the 3 drivers for me? What are my superpowers? This guy, understand this about pro athletes and Justin, because they share this. They know exactly what they do better than everybody else, and they do it again and again until someone can stop them. And the reality is that usually people don't stop them, like age, injury. They stop themselves, right? Drink, like the drink, something they get in front of them. And another one that I like that you said, Justin, you will not understand the top unless you've been at the bottom. So I thought that was really important. I mean, I really appreciated and really honored, the inspiration your mom provided for you. And she sounds like just a great lady and someone just to be honored and respected even. And I think it's a great also testament that it does not matter where you come from. Like, you make these choices in the life and you're willing, you can do it. And you talked about what you got from Frankel, right? Hope of the future and inner tension, essential 2 things that we have to have in our lives. So what a show, man. This is awesome. So let's talk about the last thing, which is, what's something that you go to whenever you're up against it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And your follow through is really good, much higher than most entrepreneurs with what you just rattled off there. That was very impressive, how you simplified the entire show there. So again, patterns and habits. And so if you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network, and that creates the right opportunities. So I just work on my mindset every single day that attracts the right people on the planet, and then those people create opportunities for me.
I had one for you, thinking about our work. I mean, listen, I know this guy's a high D. I knew coming in, by the way. I don't know Justin very well. He told you that, right? We don't know each other, but I know things about personalities from the people I've worked, right? Be brief, be accurate, and be gone. And let me tell you, my quote is for Justin today: you are responsible for your results. You are responsible for your results. Not Justin's not going to be responsible for my results, right? My wife's not going to be responsible for my results. My kids won't be responsible for my results. I am responsible for my results. And listen, if you were going to be a super performer for me, start understanding the words "I will," because someone else will not for you. You are going to have to do it. And here's this guy who wrote this fabulous book, and you better go pick it up, right? Epic Business. You want to be a top performer? Here's a guy who spent the last years of his life and many years before that around the elite performers of this world, right? And he's telling you this is how to do it. And you're going to have to pick that up and then go, "I will." So that's what I'm asking of you today. So for everybody else, Justin, anything else before we go? I just want to thank you, first of all, for coming on. Just loved our time together, man. This has been awesome.
Well, one, thank you. The other book I strongly recommend is Mastery by Robert Greene. It sold several million copies. And to simplify it, if they were alive, he interviewed them. But if they weren't alive, he anecdotes on all the top masters. So like Ben Franklin, Da Vinci. And so to simplify it, without exception, the folks that were long gone, without exception, their fathers were high-performing entrepreneurs or business leaders, because at the time the men worked. And then without exception, their sons, because only the men worked, they learned that and then they rebelled against them. So I am high-performing entrepreneurial leader, and I cannot wait for my 7 and 9-year-old sons to rebel against me and do way better and cooler things.
What a vision for the future, man. Hey, by the way, that's a great hope for your future, right?
Well, if that's what's going to happen. I mean, Mastery that already showed me that's what's going to happen. So, but my point is, most parents don't want their children to rebel. I can't wait for it, because that's how they become masters.
There you go. All right, for everybody else, thank you for joining us on the Winners Find a Way show. Make sure to look for our upcoming ebook, The Pyramid of Leadershipity. DM or email me anything you questions. Let me know what you think on any of our show. We work hard to find the top 1% to bring you high quality information on our show. So please subscribe, join it, 5-star, give us everything you can, and always join us to learn more. For Justin, thank you for so much for being here today. For everyone, we'll see you next time on the Winners Find a Way show every Friday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And you can always ask Trent, ask me anything, Thursdays, 2 p.m. on LinkedIn Live.
Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. Thank you for listening to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast. Trent, together with the leaders who shared their learning and experiences through this show, are grateful for allowing them to help and support you on your journey to becoming your best. Write a review, rate us 5 stars, and share this episode to your network.